Okay, great. So, good morning, everyone, and I think it's even evening at Alan's side. So, good evening to everyone from that side of the world. Today, we have again, I think one of our best presenters on the financial modeling series because people always liked your session. There's something about yours that is completely different from all the other sessions we've been having. So, we're always happy to have you. And today, again, I see the topic is again very, very different from the common ones we typically have. So the topic is creating a commercially focused finance team, and our guest is Alan Cameron-Sweeney. He's already here, and without taking too much time, I'll just in 1 minute be done. This session and all the other previous sessions have been brought to you by UrBizEdge and also sponsored by Financial Modeling Institute. So if you intend to write the Advanced Financial Modeling Certification or the CFM or the MFM, you can reach out to us and we'll give you a coupon. So they have generously made available to all community members. I think it's about 30% discount. So just make sure you reach out to us and then we get it to you so you don't have to pay the full cost. And about us, we are purely into data analysis, financial modeling, and generally everything around BI and also providing enterprise solutions to companies. We operate out of Nigeria, but we are also having business presence in Dubai and Europe currently. So this might change, this slide might change once that takes off. If you are interested in our physical class trainings, you can just go on, my colleague will put the website on. So we have some classes coming up this week. And we also have online classes. Now the main event of today. So we have Alan already in house. I'm going to be fast with my introduction, so I give him more time for his presentation. He's a speaker and educator. If you have been in the previous one he did for us last year, then you know why that has to be up and front in the whole. He's very the way he teaches, the way I wouldn't even say teach because it's the way he shares his knowledge and involves you in absorbing what he's trying to share. It's better than I've seen anyone do. So he's a master of finance storytelling. He's also a podcast host. We're going to share the link to the Lone Wolf Tools for Introverts and podcast series. He runs a professional development program, which he aims to help finance staff become better business partners rather than just thinking about the numbers, but also looking at what the business is driving at. Alongside his finance professionals, alongside helping finance professionals, he also, present as we hope there will be people in the house who are not really finance professionals. He knows how to keep in touch with people who are not also finance or backgrounds, non-finance audience, and helping them to also understand what all these figures are. And I think he's okay with people emailing him for us to put this on his slide. I think that means he wants you to be able to also share your feedback with him. So right now, I'm going to hand over right now to Alan. Alan, the space is yours. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to fade into the background, turn off my video, and I will just keep monitoring, like you said. If anything I need to draw your attention to, I will. So yes, we are happy to have you. Thank you for honoring our invitations. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael, and hello to everybody. Welcome. It's Sunday evening here at my time. Thanks for joining me so early on a Sunday morning. So to talk about commercially focused finance teams, I need to first play you my favorite song. Now, folks, Sam and Dave Hold On has always been one of my favorite songs, but I only came to love it more when I learned the story behind the song. So you have Sam and Dave, the two guys singing, but then there's another two folks that wrote the song, and this is David Porter and Isaac Haynes. And Isaac and Dave, they were in writing the song in Stax Records company over in America, and they were doing an all-night session, and Isaac plays the piano, so he was tinkering with the keys and he was doing a few bits, and Dave went off to the toilet. And as Dave was off on the toilet, Isaac, he got a little something, and he starts shouting. He's like, Dave, come on, I've got something. And Dave is there, of course. He's sitting on the toilet. He's like, hold on, I'm coming. And he's like, that's it. And he burst back into the recording studio, and he'd one hand holding up his pants and the other hand up in the air, shouting, hold on, I'm coming. And that's how the song developed. And why is this important for commercially focused finance teams? It's because there's two groups of people and they had to work together, the songwriters and the singers. And the songwriters had to understand the singers and what they wanted to achieve in order to write a song that was going to be really impactful. And that song, Hold On, I'm Coming, is a very famous song, and it was #1 all over when it came out. So for a team to be commercially focused, finance team has to be really connected with the business and really understand the business in order to, and sorry, I've just got a little visitor. He's just broken into my room, but I'll just put him out and we'll get right back to it. Leopold, out you go. There.
So finally we get to meet Leopold. It would be nice to have him.
Yeah, that's the little Leopold, and we will hear more about Leopold in a few minutes. My wife was trying to get a hold of him. He likes to burst into my room because I've got a really big monitor, and he comes in to watch trains. Wow. But anyway, the joys of the home office. So commercially focused finance team really needs to understand the business and what they're trying to achieve in order to help them achieve what it is they want in business. So I have a model that I will share with you to kind of show you what different stages a finance team can be at. All right. So commercially focused, we have two axes here. We've got impact, high impact, low impact, and then we've got proactive, and over here we have reactive. So down in the bottom corner here would be basic reports. And this essentially is historical, it's not proactive, and the impact of providing the business with basic reports, it's really low-end stuff. It's the base layer of what a finance team can actually do. Then further up, we have insights. And this is where a finance team is showing a business, well, how I define insights is showing the business what numbers are important today in order to help them make better decisions. But it's still very much leaving the operational side of the business to make decisions on their own. So it's not really a partnership. Then as we move up into the top quadrant, we have customer focus. And this is where finance is treating the business with real customer service skills and meeting their needs, and whether it's, preparing the right type of reports and partnering with them to get where they want to go. But at the same time, they're still not holding their hand in order to help them make better decisions. That's where we get the top part up here. Which is partnering on decisions. I suppose it's the holy grail of how finance can add value to the rest of the business. So if it was the sales department, it would be finance working hand in hand with the sales department in order to make the best decision possible for the business and for the sales teams. And if we look at the two separate quadrants, right? Down here, this is all data. And up here, this is human. And I know people will say about providing insights, and marketing people will tell you the latest BI system and AI system it'll do so much, but it's still not focused on people. And being a commercially focused finance team, you really have to be connected with the business, connected with each of the people you're working with in order to understand their goals and what they're really trying to do. And this is what we're going to talk a lot about today, is a human approach to partnering with the business and really understanding the people. And it doesn't happen by accident. And certain industries have different levels of service by design, all right? So the airline industry, make another matrix. The airline industry has generally got 3 service levels. Well, they've got 4 service levels by design. In the bottom corner, you've got budget airlines. So I'm not sure what the budget airline is in Africa. In Europe, we've got Ryanair, where I'm originally from, and you know, they don't even assign you a seat anymore. It's just you run on the plane and there's a fight for the seat. It is not. Sorry, excuse me. It's very reactive, and the impact on the person is very low. But of course, that's the business model, and it's very successful. Now, coming up here, we would have long haul. So flying back to Ireland from Australia, I would fly with Emirates or Etihad, and it's 24-hour flight, and you can just about, you know, hack the 24 hours on a long haul flight because they're a little bit more proactive, and there's a little bit more value, and you've a nicer seat, you've nicer food, you're attended to, you're given some drinks and all that type of stuff. It's a little bit nice. But then the top corner is business class, and I was lucky enough. I flew business class to a conference in Fiji, and it was amazing, right? The best thing about business class, you come on, and of course, you know, would you like a drink, sir? And they're very proactive. But the seat turned into a bed, and I slept all the way to Fiji. For the first time in my life, I got off the plane and I felt human. I felt human once I got off the plane. And of course, business class is a lot more expensive, right? Now, thankfully, I didn't pay for it. The conference did. But they obviously saw the value in it because they wanted me to arrive and be super fresh to give the best keynote that I could give for their 400 odd attendees, right? So partnering on decisions, of course, it's more costly for a finance team because you need more staff in order to spend more time with the business. But the knock-on effect should be that it creates value and it adds profit to the business, and therefore is a successful model. But of course, it's by design. It has to be by design. Like business class is, these things just didn't happen. People would have sat down and said, what is a service that is going to make people feel human? What is it that the customer really wants from us? So when we think about creating a commercially focused finance team, but what does the commercial side of the business really want from us? And this is what we have to think about before we get into, you know, how we implement or thinking about strategies and how we implement tactics. It's what does the business really want from a fantastic finance team, all right? So the question is going to be, how do we want the rest of the business to feel after they've had a great experience from finance? So like the business class and get off and felt human, what is it that we will want the business to feel? So business. Now, what I want you to do in the chat, I'm going to give you a minute to have a think about this. In thinking about the people in your business outside of finance who you partner with, if they had the best experience possible with you, how would they feel afterwards? And an example of this will be they might feel satisfied. So I'd like you all to take 60 seconds and then I'll get you to type in the chat, how is it you want the rest of the business to feel after they've had a great experience with you? Now, I remember the last time we had a little issue with the chat. Michael, could you just type hello in the chat to make sure it's working?
So I think this time around it's working fine.
Beautiful.
Did you see the
All right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, seen it there. So guys, I'll give you 60 seconds to have a think about it, and then I'd like you to put some answers in the chat box, please.
Okay, so just so I can type the question so people will know exactly what you've asked. Am I saying it correctly? How do the rest of the business fit? Okay, see.
How do you want the business? Yeah, how do you want the business to feel? Here, I can type it here. Let me get my keyboard.
Okay, I'm almost halfway through, but no problem.
All right, that's all right. How do you want the business to feel after interacting with finance? Be satisfied. Satisfied.
Okay. So we are expecting to see your answers.
Valued, yeah, lovely. Heard and fulfilled, very good. Secured. Be part of the decision making, yeah. All right. That is plenty. I'd add a few more to that. And I would say they would also feel engaged. And then they'd also feel informed. Lastly, understood. So it's important that we're going to refer back to these traits as we go along, to be that the business partners, the rest of the business will feel satisfied, valued, part of decision making. They'll feel heard, fulfilled, secured, engaged, informed, and understood. Now, in order for that to happen, we really need to understand the people in the business. We really need to understand them. So to do that, what we actually need is to have another song.
If I could be you, if you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, oh, if you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe it'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Oh, walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, just walk a mile in my shoes.
So walk a mile in my shoes. You just saw my son there, Leopold, and every day he makes me walk a mile in his shoes. So Leopold is 5. You can see he's very happy, but Leopold can't talk, and he also can't eat. He eats through a tube in his stomach, and he has level 1 autism. And the reason how he makes me walk a mile in his shoes every day, he can't actually communicate with me. So he can't speak and he can't do sign language. So it's very hard for him to communicate. And also then it's very hard for me to communicate with him. And because he has autism, I can't actually teach him a concept. So he doesn't understand what Santa is. He doesn't understand what his birthday is. I can't teach him any concept, right? So when it comes to eating food, Leopold has actually got oral aversion, because when Leopold was born, he spent 9 months in hospital, and he had tubes all over his face. So you can see here he had oxygen tubes, and he also has a tube going into his nose for feeding. You can see he was very happy little boy, but again, you can see the feeding tube on his face. He's grown up to be very happy. And this is him now, as you see. And the reason he had the oral aversion was this is him at about 2 months old. And you can see he's got quite the set of tubes being stuck down his throat. And that was to help him breathe, but it was very invasive. And because of that, he doesn't let anything go near his mouth unless he's in control of it. So when I'm trying to get him to eat, I can't explain to him why he should eat, because he doesn't understand concepts, and he won't let me put anything near his mouth. So I have to walk a mile in his shoes to get him to play with food. So to teach a child to eat who doesn't eat, there are about 6 steps from not wanting to be in the room with food to, obviously eating. And we're at about stage 3, where Leopold will play with the food. And so what I have to do with Leopold every day is I have to do food play with trains, because Leopold is obsessed with trains. So whether it's yogurt or whether it's apples, all the food gets put on the trains to get Leopold used to the textures, right? So we've gradually gotten further along with the textures Leopold will interact with. And the odd time, if we're lucky, Leopold will put some food on his lips. Well, why am I telling you this? Because what you need to think about is, for the people in the business, the non-finance people, they don't love finance. They don't want to digest finance the way Leopold doesn't want to digest food. So what can you do that's going to get their attention? What can you focus on that the business will be interested in terms of consuming finance information? What will get the business's attention and what will make them interested? So I'm going to type this question in the comments, because I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about this. What will make the business what will make the business interested in finance? And to think about that, you really have to not think about finance. You have to walk a mile in their shoes. So for the next 30 seconds, think about in their day-to-day job, what's actually, what's important to them? What do they actually care about? Take 30 seconds and have a think about what they care about. And then when you have an answer, let's write it in the chat, please. Profits. Everybody cares about money. That is right. Diksha, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Money. Who doesn't love money? Oh, thank you. For sales, yeah. Bonus, yeah. It's all about the money here, isn't it? Bonus. Cash flow, capital to invest. Yeah, so we've got capital. We've got cash flow. All right, beautiful. Financial stability. Yeah. And in terms of doing their job, what we got there? What decision that will affect their department? Yes, very good. What will affect them personally? So incentives. Yeah, so we have to think about as well. These are all the things they care about, which is fantastic. Well, we've got sales, revenue, bonuses, capital, cash flow, financial stability. So in terms of when we are talking to the business, this is what gets their attention, right?
Okay, Alan, I think it's happened again. So the screen, or everybody else, can you see his screen? So that maybe it's just me. Oh, he's back. He's back. Yeah, he's back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Good. Does
Is the whiteboard here now?
Yeah, yes, it's there. So yes, you can carry on. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your quick interaction.
Yeah, you know, you did mention. Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Because I can't tell. All right. So this is what's going to get the business's attention. So when we are dealing with the business, we have to talk in terms of what's going to get their attention. And importantly, when we're being proactive, it is how can they affect these things? How can they impact? So when we're talking to the business, how can they impact sales? How can they impact getting a better bonus? It's all well and good giving them a financial report, but it's going to get their attention an awful lot more if you say, hey, Michael, this is how you're going to get a massive bonus this year. That's going to get their attention, and that's what's going to create value for them from finance. So how can we make decisions so we can all get much bigger bonuses, right? So how do we do that? Because yeah, I make it sound very simple, but we do need to do a bit of work to get there. All right, so let's think about when we give finance information to the business and when we do finance presentations, how does the business normally feel? And you might guess I've got another song to tell us how the business feels. Let me go, where are we? Leopold, you can go away now. I can't get no satisfaction. Can't get no satisfaction. I tried. So the people, they don't get any satisfaction from finance presentations. So how can we change that? Well, we're going to look at a model for how we do analysis. And because what we want to do is we want to be able to incorporate getting their attention into our analysis. So for that, I need a pyramid. So if any of you were here for my last talk, you would have heard me mention a mental model: what, so what, now what. And even if you weren't on my talk, you might have heard of this model. It's a really great mental model that a lot of the execs use, because this is what matters to them. This is what they want to hear. All right. So the what. This is, what has actually happened. But when we talk about the what, often in finance, we might just say, well, sales are down 10%. That's not going to get the business's attention. That's not going to, engage the business, or they're not going to feel informed. What we want to talk about with the what is operational drivers. What's the actual thing in the business that's creating it? And we'll talk about root cause in a minute. We will say what kind of is the operational. It's the operational driver. And then we've got so what. What is the impact if this issue keeps continuing? You're not going to get your bonus. That's a pretty big, so what to the business. And then importantly, now what? What are we actually going to do about a problem? So that's essentially what is the foundation of analysis to be commercially focused, to talk about things in the language and in the events of the business, not in terms of finance, how it's going to impact them and what we're going to do about it. But still, that's not, you send an email or you send out a report, you still have to get people's attention, all right? So we need to take the great work and we need to get people's attention. And we're going to do that with the top part of the pyramid. So I'm sure a lot of you do this already, but if you're talking to senior leaders, of course, you need an exec summary. Back when I worked at a large multinational, I don't know if you have Schweppes lemonade in Africa, but I worked for them in Australia, and we had a finance leadership team, and I'd be sending them emails. And I soon realized very quickly that if it didn't fit on the screen of a mobile phone, the chances are they didn't read it. Because I get many emails back and they asked me questions which I'd answered later in the email, But of course, these senior executives are rather busy. So I needed to realize, I need to get the important things up the very front of the email. That's where the first part of an email needs to be what I want. What I want. What do I mean by this? It will be buying new equipment, decision needed by 4 p.m. on Friday. That tells the busy person exactly what you want from them. And then the very top part is the headline. And this is essentially your email subject line. And in an email subject line, I still shorten what is the what I want, which is the action. Sorry, I should say that this is the action needed. So in an email subject line, a good convention for writing email subject lines to get people's attention is the subject, the action needed, and then the deadline. So it might be new machinery, decision needed by Friday 4 p.m. And when someone sees the email subject line, they know they need to respond to that email, that you want something from them. This goes back to getting their attention in the business. That's what that's about. So in terms of the what, so what, now what, going to look at 3 tools in terms of how we can roll these things out to the business and how we can get their attention. Michael, how are we doing for time? 7:42. All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Does anybody have any questions? Actually, let's pause for a moment for questions. Or here, I'll put back up my slide. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? So I see people who have teams who have exactly, what, as if you have this topic for them. So I see Mr. Yomi Adensin, Mr. Moses Otek, I don't want to misspell his name, Otek Bayo, and I see a lot of people who exactly are in this situation that you're describing, that they have teams, and I'm sure they want to also ensure their teams are going to be business partners, not just finance teams. And anybody that I've skipped their name, I'm just trying to look through the names of people and call out people I know for certain are running finance teams. Any maybe opinions too, it might not be questions, it could just also be something else you want to share.
Yeah, any thoughts that you would like to share, indeed. And it's okay if there's no questions at the moment. I'll ask a different thing. Could you just write in the chat if you're happy with the direction this talk is going? Because I want to make sure it's of value to you folks. So if you can just tell me you're happy, that would be good. To see if anyone's paying attention then, Michael.
Okay. So are we waiting to hear from you in the chat box? I'm happy anyway, so I have to be honest. I typed mine. Oh, okay. So more replies are coming in. Someone says, really enjoying it. Fantastic. Yeah. So people, I think we all are happy.
That's good. So I'll keep going in the same direction. Very good. All right. So in terms of the what, let's talk about root cause. So root cause analysis is getting to the actual operational driver that is causing a variance. So as I said, often in finance, we'll just say, sales are down 10%. So let's look at an example. And the example is that that over the overtime bill has increased. So we've got level 1, which is overtime plus 10%. So then with root cause, what you do is you ask why. You keep asking why until you get to the operational driver, all right? So that is 1. Then we go 2. So overtime is 10%. Why machines are breaking down. So this still isn't the real operational driver, right? Machines are breaking down, and that causes more overtime because there is less capacity on the line to build things, less capacity. So less capacity, the guys have to work over, guys or girls, of course, have to work overtime. So then you ask, well, why are the machines breaking down? Well, the parts keep wearing. Parts keep wearing out. Again, lastly, why is that happening? Well, we've got old machines. And having old machines is causing us to have the bigger overtime bill. So, you know, the value of you saying to the business overtime is 10%, it's not going to get their attention. The value of working out that it's old machines, that will then get the business's attention because you're speaking about their language, you're speaking about things happening in their world. That is the what. And if we go back to the business and how we want them to feel, if you're able to tell them that the old machines are the problem, they're going to feel informed, they'll feel engaged because you're talking in their language, and you're going to get their attention because you're saying, how can they impact things to get, you know, better sales, better revenue, better bonuses? You say, well, if we buy new machines and don't have overtime bills, we'll all get bonuses. So that is what root cause is, and that's how it can be useful. So then what? Let's look at so what. I want to talk about forecasts. In the chat, can I ask how many people do forecasts only to the end of the year, or do people do rolling 12-month forecasts if they do forecasts? So if you can answer that in the chat. So forecasts to budget only, to budget cycle only, to calendar. So Moses has 5 years at every point in time. Moses, you're leading the way for everybody. This is what we need, because what does the business not care about? The business doesn't care about the budget cycle to forecast to, right? So if we talk budget cycle, and this would generally be, you know, the calendar year. You imagine by the time you get to, can I ask, Michael, because it's a bit different in Australia, in Africa, do you generally do budgets on a calendar year, January to December?
Well, most companies have their financial year, but majority is still the same calendar year, so January to December. But the ones who use a different financial year, they stick to theirs.
Right, yeah, because in Australia we do, well, I won't complicate it, but we do a financial year of July to June, so we don't have, anyway. So if you imagine when you get to the budget and you're doing a forecast in November to December, like operationally, the sales guys, they don't care. They might care maybe because of their bonus, but they want to know about, you know, the next 12 months, the next 2 years. They want to look down the road at what can they impact. It goes back to this. How can they and what can they, what can they impact? And then, of course, what will the effect be? What? So what will the effect be? And again, we really have to bring it back to what matters to them. Because if we say, you know, oh, we're going to miss budget by 5%, they're like, it's not their language. It's not saying how it's going to impact them on a day-to-day. But if you say, well, you've no longer got financial stability unless we sort this forecast out, they're like, oh, that's going to get their attention because they want financial stability. As you can see, everything ties back to how we want them to feel and what's going to get their attention. Yeah, you'll hopefully be sick of me referring back to this, but then the point is we'll remember it forever type thing. All right. The next part I want to do, all right, low-hanging fruit. So all right, so let's talk about now what, and we'll talk about what is called, it's the low-hanging fruit matrix, and it can be used for quick wins, but also the beauty of it is it can be used to take in financial considerations, but also operational considerations. So we have the business and we have the finance side of things. So a basic example of this would be, on this axis, we've got effort is low and reward is high. So that's where we want to get to. So you can see I need to lose a little bit of weight. I've lost a few kilos since I was last talking to you guys, but I could do it losing about 8 more at least. All right. And in terms of things, I initially was doing, I just said, all right, I'll go cycle my bike. I like cycling my bike. I'll cycle my bike a lot. And, that'll help me lose some weight. Well, it didn't. The effort was high. So I've got, let's draw my little bicycle. Is that a bicycle? The effort was high because I had to cycle for a long time, and the results were pretty low, to be honest. It didn't really help me lose weight. So not a quick win. In the middle, I had weight training. So I used to do a lot of squats and deadlifts and things like that. And for that, the reward was middle. It was decent. And the effort was pretty middling as well. But the lowest effort, most high reward thing I've come across is my diet. And that, for me, has been a low-carb diet. So I essentially just don't eat any bread or pasta or potatoes, which is, well, very hard for an Irishman. But I stick to eating like a lot of eggs, a lot of just meat, a lot of black beans and stuff like that. So it's been low effort to do it because I just have to buy different foods, and the reward is really high. So that's a basic example of the low-hanging fruit matrix. So let's look at the example we have of the machines, all right? So the machines, let's say there's 3 things we can look at to improve our machines to stop the overtime, right? We can, of course, do nothing. All right. So doing nothing is low effort. It's also low reward. So I'll put here do nothing. Then we have, well, we could buy brand new machines. So that effort, the effort to buy new machines, well, people are going to have to be trained on the new machines, aren't they? And perhaps the what's the word I'm looking for? The word now escapes me. I can't think of a word. The union, the union has said that if people are going to use new machines, they need to get paid more, right? So the new machines, actually, the effort becomes quite high because everybody needs new training, although the reward is quite high as well, all right? So in terms of financial sense, so we'll put new machines here. And this, of course, as you can see, it takes in the effort being quite high. So we're taking in how it's going to affect the business, but we're also taking in the reward in terms of the dollars. So we're taking into account the financial side of things. And then lastly, the third option with the machines is, well, we could just repair them, do a kind of a major overhaul. So the effort on a major overhaul, it's about here. And the reward, it's not as high as a new machine, but the reward is about here. So we'll say, we'll call this the overhaul. So if we only looked at it from our financial point of view, we'd go with new machines. But taking into account the impact on the business, the best decision is actually to do an overhaul. And doing nothing really doesn't help anybody. So this comes back to getting people's attention and what does the business want from us. If we're able to tell them that the overhaul impacts the business, the least, but delivers the best financial reward in terms of bonuses or revenue and sales, or of course the costs, we can really sell it to the business like that. So that is now what? And that is essentially how, let's go back to our what, so what, now what. And when we incorporate them with what gets attention, that is how you build a commercially focused finance team. Go back again to our commercially focused, partnering on decisions, being the now what, being customer focused, really understanding how somebody wants to feel and what's going to get their attention. And what happens if you don't do this? Well, I need another song, don't I? One more song. Oh no, it's not that one. Yes, I am. Sam and Dave again. And Sam and Dave, they had David Porter and Isaac Haynes writing their songs. They had hits, and more hits. But Sam and Dave, they moved to another record label for many different reasons. And when they moved and they didn't have that writing team, how many more hits did they have? 0. They were singing the same songs for the next 20, 30 years. The partnership wasn't there. The partnership wasn't there anymore that had worked. It all fell apart. It all fell apart. So it goes to show how important it is that we do work together with the business properly to understand them as people in terms of what they're trying to achieve in the business in order to help them get where they want to go. But of course, why should you do it? Why? And it's a very interesting question of why we should do any of this in terms of helping the business. But to help explain it, I'll tell you about when I first met my wife. We were on a second date, and she told me she had 2 dogs. One of them you can see is he's got a cardboard cutout of him, and the other one, well, unfortunately, he's past Rupert. But I didn't know anything about dogs, and I said to her, "They don't sleep on the bed, do they?" And she said, "No. And that was the first lie my wife ever told me, because dogs did sleep on the bed. But turned out the 2 dogs that she had, Rupert, this was the other dog that she had. If you can see Rupert there, little white fluffy dog. And Rupert was a very wonky old dog. He had heart issues. But Claire and Rupert were living in my apartment, and Rupert weed all over the floor, and I said, "Oh, it's okay. It's little old Rupert." Then one day when I was out and Claire was left in the apartment, Rupert went into my bedroom, and he hopped up on the bed, and Claire thought he was just, lying in my spot on the bed, that she thought he just missed me because he became very attached to me. No, Rupert weed in my bed. Claire was mortified. But I was like, it's okay. It's Rupert, because I was really starting to like Rupert, actually. And I was starting to get, Rupert was starting to get really, really attached to me. And he was really coming out of his shell, because Claire had adopted Rupert when he was 11. He'd been a backyard breeding dog, and he was in a really bad way. But when he met me, for some reason, he decided I was his person. And he really started to come out of his shell, and he'd all this confidence, and he'd never barked before he met me, but then I'd bring him to the park and he'd start barking at all the biggest dogs, and he had this massive personality that came out. And of course, it was like, well, was it a case that Rupert needed me, or was it that actually I needed Rupert? When I met my wife, she was 34 and I was 30. Now, at the time, I'd been used to dating, ladies who were, 4 years younger, not 4 years older. And as it turned out, I asked Claire, of course, pretty early at the age of 34, she wanted to have kids. She went off and got a test, and the test results were terrible. We were dating 6 months, and I was sitting in a fertility office, in a specialist office, and he was saying, medically speaking, you have to do something. Wasn't ready, obviously, to have kids with Claire, but we did IVF and put things in the freezer. But after about a year, and I think it was a year and 4 months, I said I was ready to try. And if it wasn't for Rupert, I didn't know I wanted kids until I had Rupert, right? But then I enjoyed looking after this wonky old dog who weed everywhere. And he showed me really quickly that I would love to be a dad. And without that, I wouldn't have been able to get on board with having a child with Claire so quickly into our relationship, because I hadn't thought about it. And just as well, I was ready to be a dad, because when Claire got pregnant, pretty much straight away, Leopold arrived within 6 months. So what I'm trying to tell you is, while we may think, the business needs us for them to do better, by working with others and by getting out from behind your desk and working with the business, you're going to find out and learn things about yourselves that you didn't know was there through being in these new situations. I wouldn't have known I wanted to be a dad if it wasn't for Rupert. And through understanding other people and through understanding their nature and walking a mile in their shoes, you are going to learn so much about yourself. So by helping them, by helping the business to be better and understanding the business, you are going to grow as a person. And that is the reason we should do these things. And that is the reason we should take a human approach to finance when we want to have a commercially focused finance team. And that, folks, brings us to the end of the talk. So if people do have questions, let's open it up to questions. Well, I will hand it back to Michael. I also know the last time people wanted to take some screenshots of some of the models. So if you want any screenshots, I can put back up the models and put them a bit closer to the camera if you want.
Okay, I took some. I don't know you. Okay, you remember that we tried to take some the last time. I took some already, but I don't know if anybody is still wanting. But the truth is also we're going to have the entire session on our YouTube tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people are also going to watch it. Some are already asking me that, oh, they're in church, they are not able to join. Is there a recording? So I'm sure they will be glad that we recorded the session. Any questions from anyone before I have a question anyway? But I would like others to ask first. So I'm going to start calling our names. So it seems people who normally talk are playing quiet today. Anybody wants to, a question? And interestingly, we got a good participation. Okay, yes,
Good
please.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah,
Mr.
Precious, I hear you.
Martin,
Yeah.
it's actually my first time in this summer financial modeling and valuation office hour. So I've been a member of this community for a very long time, but this is the first time I actually got to myself here or in the live. So, Mr. Michael, it's just like a clarification though. In
Okay.
this community or this community, so what do we do here? Because of what I initially had in mind before I signed up is that we are into financial modeling, right, and valuation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what so are we going
Okay.
to like learn how to build models from scratch?
Okay. So good. I'm going to explain what the community is. So the community supports people in the finance space. So, okay, sorry, my connection kind of blinked there. So helping, it's purely for finance people, right? Financial modeling isn't just the only thing. There is a whole lot to finance than financial modeling and valuation. The session 3 weeks ago was on financial modeling, income statement modeling. The one 2 weeks ago was on cash, or was on income statement. 3 weeks ago was on market driven valuation. So if you keep joining, today's your session. That's why maybe you don't have a feel of how it's been. It's always different topics every different week. So just keep in the community and then you keep learning as long as you're in the finance space. Okay, so thank you for joining. Any other person, so that we can let Alan go sleep, have his well-deserved rest tonight. I'm guessing it's maybe 10 p.m. past 10 p.m. your time.
It's 8 now, so different time, a bit earlier this time compared to last time. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. So any questions? Okay, if no questions, I have a question. And so my question is, all right, I see someone wants to say something. Okay, I thought maybe Mr. Yomi wanted to say something now. Okay, great. So my question is,
Actually,
for
I wanted to say something. Thank you, Michael. Do I have the floor?
yes, you do.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. So much thanks to you, Cameron. I mean, this is the second time I'm meeting with you. I really enjoyed the class. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. I think the last experience you shared really connected so well with me. I really want to say thank you to you. Really glad being in class today. Thank you so much, Michael.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah. And that's why I said in the introduction that, everyone who was part of your session last time, they know that it's a session not to miss. I think that's why we have this huge turnout, because this is the first time we are doing it at this time and having this many. At some point, we had 22 people, which sometimes is even the same number or more than the numbers we have at the afternoon session. So the question I have is for okay, so the whole finance space seems to be changing a bit, right? And I know since you are always you're in touch with more executives across the globe, you're always in all these international events. So can you tell us, what you think is happening going forward that is different from the way finance used to be? So imagine I come out of university and I want to, maybe I did accounting and I want to operate in that same space and I become an accountant, and I work, maybe I rise the ranks in the company and, the typical jobs we do, maybe I work in payables, I start from recording and then I start moving gradually to in being part of the decision making process, and then I become a finance manager. I become, so that's kind of a ladder that people take. What's changing right now in there's a whole lot of conversations about um, new areas in finance, and I want to hear from you. I don't want to.
Yeah, for sure. So like what's changed? Like I'm not old, I'm not young, I'm 37. So I did my training when I was in 21, 22, 23, 24. The big thing that's changed since then is automation, right? So the tasks that I used to do as a trainee accountant, and in my first few years up until around 2010 maybe, all those things are the, a lot of the journal processing is automated. A lot of the reporting is automated. You've got all the business intelligence tools and things like that. So that it's not, the processes aren't so manual now. And even lately, like I'm doing some training at the moment with a massive nonprofit in Melbourne, and they've invested in the latest cloud accounting enterprise system, right? Called
Wow.
it escapes me now anyway, but but they've got that, and what he and other CFOs are now wanting to focus on. So even those who aren't, as you say, working in payables, or they're lower down the ranks, when you come out of college, you're not going to be focused on decision making on day one because you don't, have that knowledge. He was talking consistently about being a customer focused finance team. So he had a lot of transactional staff, and he wanted the team to really understand who they're working with and understand what it is they want so they can deliver a great service. So what isn't going to go out of fashion is people skills and understanding the people side of business, because that's what's going to, I think that's what's always separated great finance people and always will, is, do you have the relationships? Do you understand the people? Don't be the accountant who's stuck behind their desk, only living in Excel. Get out and well, it's very important, but it's a given that we do that, and everybody does that. What's going to separate you is your ability to build relationships, and a big part of that is how you communicate, and that goes back to our if you can communicate really strongly with these things and get people's attention, you're going to stand out. So when you come out of college and you've done your accounting, and maybe you do your CA or CPA, focus on your people skills and your communication skills. Best thing I ever did in finance was become a good presenter. I did. You have Toastmasters. We probably talked about this the last time.
Yeah.
Because I'll be giving talks on here in 10 years' time, and I'll still tell you all to go to Toastmasters. I'll still be talking about communication.
Yeah.
And if you can do those things, you're really going to separate yourself from the general finance person who can't communicate very well. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. And so at this point, I think we've come to the end. Thank you very much, Alan, for your sessions are always very engaging. We see that you put a lot of work into bringing us in and ensuring that we follow. And I know that we are all grateful, not just me, but the whole community and those who will be watching the recording. And for everyone in the house, please just look at the chat box. You'll see, maybe I'll just repost in. You can always catch up with Alan on, I think he's okay. We're posting the one he had last year, and then I'm also posting his is
Oh yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
okay, LinkedIn, the website, and the podcasts. So I'm reposting them. So make sure you keep in touch with him. You follow him. You follow the podcast, and you always get more of his goodness. You get to benefit from
Oh
all
yeah.
the
So if you
wonderful
go to
things.
on my
Okay.
website as well, there's an insight paper on some of this stuff. If you want the insight paper, it's just there's a 4 or 5 page insight paper talking about being commercially focused. So if you want the piece of paper that
Oh,
goes
I
with it,
see.
you can just download it on the website.
Oh, okay. I'm copying that link right now, pasting. So I've seen it also on your website. Great. So you're very generous in sharing your knowledge and always sharing things, and it's not everyone to do this. So thank you very much. And to everyone,
Oh,
thank you for joining. And I'll say have a very wonderful rest of the day and good night, Alan. Have a very good uh, rest, because it's really late night for you already.
well,
Thank you very
thank you
much.
very much for having me, Michael, and I've really enjoyed it. And no doubt we'll come back again when I have another new talk in maybe a year or two. We'll come back again.
Oh, great. We'll always be happy to
Always a
have you.
pleasure.
Yes, bye. Thank you to everyone
Thank you so
too.
much. Thanks very much,
Bye.
guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye.